guys, how are you all doing? It's your girl Cindy, and I'm back again today with another gist. I trust you guys are doing great. Thank you so much for clicking to watch this video. So I just wanted to quickly see this video from this doctor. He did a video asking black people this question. So this doctor right here is basically questioning why black patients come in to see them, the doctors, and have somebody on the phone. So the video went viral on TikTok. People started sharing it, stitching his videos, especially black people responding to him. I'm gonna show you some stitches. Obviously, he took the video down because he received loads of backlash. He couldn't cope, and he did an apology video, which we are gonna see. Please stay with me, guys. I mean, this is something we are literally talking about, how black people are being treated in the hospital. Now, after seeing a clip of that video, I was like, why would he even make that video asking that question as a doctor? Anyways, you guys, stay with me. Let's just see the stitches. And of course, I'm going to show you some random comments. Please check these videos out.
So this is Dr. J. Mack, and he has a question that I'm going to help him with. Let's take a look at his question.
I have a question, but I'm afraid to ask it because I don't want to be labeled as a racist. I've gotten backlash before online, and it's horrible. But here we go. I've been an ear doctor for 10 years now, and a significant amount of my African American patients, while I'm doing a history and physical to understand better what's going on with their problem today, they have someone on the phone. They're either just talking on the phone or they're on FaceTime, but a large percentage of my African American patients have someone that's there in the room even though they're not there in the room. Why is that? When I, myself, not speaking for an entire race or ethnicity, have a doctor come in, I hang up my phone. Am I an outlier, or is this a trend that other people have recognized? Also, if you are from the African American community and you do think that this is a thing as well, why is this? Is this for emotional support? Is this to make sure that they're being treated fairly? I genuinely am curious, and I'm really hoping I don't get backlash for this.
I find it hard to believe that you don't know the answer to that question is yes to both of the things you said. This is medical apartheid. I would also advise you to pick it up and to understand the distrust that black people have for doctors and where that distrust comes from. Now, I'm sure somewhere along the line in your studies to become a doctor, you have heard of the Tuskegee experiment, which for 4 decades, from 1932 to 1972, PHS systemically studied 400 men with syphilis and used another 400 men, all black men, as a control group to understand syphilis while lying to the black men about that experimentation. And when one of those black men became suspicious of the treatment they were given and started to look for treatment on their own, they were prevented from seeking that treatment by PHS. Just in case you didn't know, PHS was Public Health Service, and it was a precursor to the CDC, or the Center for Disease Control. And then there's Henrietta Lacks, whose cancer cells were used without her permission or her family's permission, and neither her or her family was compensated for their use, as they gave birth to an immortal cell line known as the HeLac cell line. Yeah, that was a thing also. Now, Dr. J. Mack, I would also suggest you go read anything by Dr. Joel D. Howell here, where he talks about racial disparities in medical treatment. You could have also Googled Understanding Black Distrust of Medicine, and this article by Dr. Joel D. Howell would have came up, which he states, one of the most visible ways racism was made manifest was in multiple instances of physicians carrying out unethical experiments using African Americans. He further goes on to state, all healthcare professionals need to know about these experiments because they can offer insight into why many people are distrustful of medical systems. I have 3 suggestions for you that may have prevented you from answering this question in the first place. Pick up a copy of Medical Apartheid by Harriet Washington, read an article by Professor Howell, or you could have found a black physician and asked them that question for yourself. Now, you have the day you deserve.
You are from the African American community and you do think that this is a thing as well. Why is this?
Hey friends, so the OP was asking, why do black people have people on the phone with them when they're receiving care? I'm gonna tell y'all a few stories that have happened in my life or in my immediate, family, and also caution y'all not to read the comment section too hard because there are so many white people in that comment section just being absolutely horrible, just full of microaggressions. And I hope the OP sees this video and addresses some of that because wow, like disgusting. All right, so I'm going to tell y'all several stories and I'm going to start with my dad because it's the oldest one I know. My dad, his lungs collapsed when he was like a young man in his early 20s. They did an experimental kind of surgery on him and used experimental fallout stitches on him. He bore deep scars on his back for his entire life. He did not like going anywhere without a shirt on, even inside his own house, because of how brutal those scars were. My own grandmother told me that she's always been terrified that doctors would experiment on her. Like they experimented on my dad. Right after my dad passed away, my mom sent me to a psychiatrist and a therapist because she was worried at the fact that I was not sleeping. I had also just left my abusive ex, and so I just wasn't sleeping in general because trauma. But I went to this doctor who prescribed me some medicine that absolutely just knocked me the fuck out. Like I was out. Phone still in hand, texting my mother that I made it to bed safely. I took the medicine. I woke up with my phone in my hand. It was unsafe to me. What if I just passed out on the staircase? You know what I'm saying? It was scary. I pleaded with her to give me something that wasn't so strong, but she was insistent that I just needed to go to sleep. And that if I go to sleep, then everything else will just be magically fixed. I just wanted to not have panic attacks. That's all I wanted. But she would not listen to me, and eventually she prescribed me something for anxiety that made me go completely manic. Like I even remember not feeling like myself. I was up high, you know what I'm saying? I was like moving too fast. I was talking fast. It was scary. I was told to immediately stop that medication because I could have spiraled into a manic episode and unalived myself. All because she wouldn't just listen to me. Then she ran blood tests, and found out that I was fucking bipolar. I shouldn't have been taking that medicine at all. That's when I started calling people. I would call my husband, or, he was my boyfriend back then, but I started calling my husband and making sure someone was on the phone with me and heard her not listening. I remember getting all 4 of my wisdom teeth pulled out at the same time, and the doctors gave me like the most bare minimum painkillers, and my face was still swollen when I ran out. I still couldn't talk. I was still on my doctor's note. Like they didn't give me anything. I was 22 years old and my mom had to call and make them give me a new prescription because I couldn't even eat mashed potatoes. I was in so much pain and they just swore I was just trying to get Swifty or something. Last one is the one that fucks with me the most. I needed to get again new anxiety meds. I had just moved here and I had to switch doctors, and this was our first encounter. I brought my husband with me because previous events have told me I need somebody, right? All seems to be going well. I go in for a follow-up, this time without my husband. She was like, oh, I see you didn't bring your husband this time. I don't know why you even brought him in this. She started going off on me and was so hostile. My blood pressure spiked with anxiety, right? I went nonverbal. I stopped speaking. I was starting to have a mad panic attack in the middle of that little sterile ass room. And she was just yelling at me. Am I so difficult to talk to? Why are you crying? Like I'm full blown crying. And she's yelling at me, telling me to calm down. It was horrible. The third and final time, I made sure my mom was on the phone with me, and she was really polite and really nice. And then she thought I hung up with my mother. When she saw that I just put my phone in my purse, and even though the phone was on, it was just in my purse, she starts talking out the side of her neck at me. She was like, "Oh, I guess you don't need your mom anymore. Why did you need your mom? I'm really not hard to talk to. I'm a woman too." And she was so, I don't know why she was so mean to me, but she was. My mom heard her. She was on speaker. My mom heard her and she was like, "Who the fuck are you talking to like that?" I didn't go back after that. But like I'm just saying, like, I call because I'm tired of people not listening to me. I call because I'm afraid that I will be experimented on. I call because I don't want to get cussed the fuck out for no fucking reason. And those people in the comment section were so fucking obtuse with their microaggressions. It's respectable to just hang up the phone. Yes, I agree with you as someone who grew up with those kinds of etiquettes in place, you know what I'm saying? It is very uncomfortable for me to have my phone out and on and in use, but I have to, because if I don't, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna happen, and it's a fear, and it's so fucking sick that so many people were just writing Black people's experiences off in those comment sections. I want some of those people to go back and read what the fuck they've said and what people said back. You deserve what they are saying to you, because how dare you be so fucking obtuse in there. Anyway, wishing y'all well. Love you guys.
I have a question, but I'm afraid to ask it because I don't want to be labeled as a racist.
Have you simply tried asking your patients before asking a social media platform? I'm an OBGYN. Whenever I notice that patients are on the phone, I simply ask, "Hi, I'm your doctor. Who's out on the phone with you?" "Okay. Would you be comfortable with me asking medical questions while they are still on the phone, or would you like to hang up?" And it's the year 2024, and I don't know how to like gently say this. Other people are a little bit more vocal, but why is it that you're asking a whole social media platform when it comes to race? You are actively taking care of patients. I don't know where you're working. I don't know the patient population that you're serving, but I am concerned that you are now overgeneralizing a whole race in terms of utilizing their phone while on a visit with you, and you can't talk to your patients directly.
African American people are currently and have historically been mistreated and
I knew that apology was coming. For those of you that don't know, that doctor asked an extremely condescending question about why African Americans stay on the phone when they're in doctor's appointments. This clout-chasing doctor got a bunch of responses about why people don't trust doctors, especially in the Black community, and it's because a lot of them don't take our pain serious. I'm someone that suffers with chronic illness, and I have to be the advocate for myself. Like, extremely, because they don't even take my pain seriously. Not to mention the Black women that have such a high mortality rate because doctors don't take their pain seriously or what they're going through with their own bodies into account before they do whatever they want to them. This guy was clearly clout chasing, and he was antagonizing the Black community once again for views and clicks. And playing devil's advocate for 1 second, which I hate fucking doing. If you didn't know, this is why African American history is so important and why we should keep it in schools. I read this book in my early 20s. It's called Medical Apartheid by Harriet A. Washington. It's about the different medical experiments that used to run on Black people and slaves in the country. It goes into things like the Tuskegee experiments and the horrific experimentation they used to do on Black slaves for gynecology. We have a wealth of knowledge in our phones, so try using that and cracking open a book before you antagonize Black people for views. I do not have sympathy for guys like this year.
So I just want to ask this question. Have you guys read this book, Medical Appetite, they are talking about? I haven't read it. I'm going to look for the book and I'll read it. It is a shame that this doctor came on TikTok to ask this question. As a doctor, you should know. Now, like in one of the stitches, this female doctor, she said that you should have asked, are you okay for us to talk about your health while you have someone on the phone? If they are okay with it, then let it be. coming on social media to ask hundreds of thousands of people, you should have known that they will come for you. And of course, he apologized. Anyways, I have a few messages coming, and don't forget, I'm going to show you a few screenshots of comments. Let's check the messages out.
Justified mistrust and fear of the medical system. To everyone that I have tripped. You've probably seen this story already. There's a white emergency doctor from Texas who is asking his TikTok community why Black patients that he's seeing might be on their cell phone during the visit. So I'm going to try to be cautious and not step on the toes of the Black community because they are the ones that he has harmed the most from this. What I'm going to do is to take the perspective of what perpetuates medical trauma and racism, something all white healthcare practitioners need to be aware of. His original question allows a dog whistle. It's asking, can you confirm my bias that Black people are more lazy or that they're rude? And of course, his comment section gladly obliged. Videos deleted. All humans come to their professional life with built-in assumption and bias. If we don't recognize that, we can't deconstruct it. We are taught in medical school that Black bodies are different, that they have different risk factors when it comes to things like diabetes and metabolic syndrome, while mostly ignoring the structural violence that causes these issues. And then there's the hidden curriculum, which is left with most medical doctors believing that Black people experience pain differently. We don't often consider that their pain has been ignored for so long that they've learned to suppress it and to express it in a different way. We know the stories of racism within care systems. In Canada, oftentimes, if you are Indigenous, you are dismissed, gaslit, ignored, and shamed. But we so rarely as individuals question how we are culpable and complicit in perpetuating this. That's the work that this creator needs to do, and he's been invited to do it by Dr. Callie and many others. Instead, what we are generally prone to do is to express our white fragility by saying, well, I wouldn't do that. I'm not a racist. But we are. We're baked in the system. His original video was absolutely explicit. It was overtly racist. He was asking, why do these other people do something? Without asking how he is involved in that discourse. Like, why could it possibly be that people are more prone to phone a friend if they don't feel psychologically safe in your presence? Maybe that's a better question to ask. Dr. Callie asked him to have the conversation with his Black patients, but I question whether or not they feel even safe enough to do so. After this video went viral and his very failed apologies, which were not apologies, they were basically just like, I'm such a good person, I tried to do a good thing, why can't people just see that? The fact is that white professionals are often not safe. It's up to us to do the work to learn about historical oppression and the ongoing harms caused within the medical system and do better. This was not it. Decolonizing medical and psychological health systems starts with us.
American community, and you do think that this is a thing as well. Why is this? Is this?
They don't trust you. It's not intrinsically you, but it is the healthcare system as a whole. If you go back and look throughout history, you will see, and I'm sure you know this through your studies, Doc, you will see that the medical community has widely misused and mistreated the Black community. So when they have someone on the phone with them, it is not because they're being disrespectful, likely. It may be from a place of medical trauma, the history of medicine and its actions towards the Black community. It could be the fact that they need moral support and a backup because of those long-standing history of mistrust. They may not have been to the doctor in a very long time. They may not have the support with them in the same city. So instead of coming to social media, definitely when it happens, just ask. put those fears and issues to rest. And when a patient has that, when that happens to me, when I have a patient on the phone, I often ask them, hey, who's on the phone with you? Is it my mom? Is it your mom? You know, your dad, your cousin? And oftentimes they may have additional information for you regarding the patient that they may not be comfortable enough to share with you themselves. I highly encourage you to simply engage in conversation and ask questions. You might get an answer.
I have a question, but I'm afraid to ask it because I don't want to be labeled as a racist.
No, you're not. What you're afraid of is your implicit bias at best or your actual racism at worst will be clocked for exactly what it is. And as you already stated, you have been on the receiving end of backlash, which is really scary and no one wants to be on the receiving end of. Because if you were afraid of actually being called a racist, you would not hop on this app of billions of users and put this question out into the atmosphere. You would instead, in over the 10 years of making this observation, you would just ask your patients this in the privacy of the room. And Dr. Mack, you certainly would not be asking this question in uniform with your name highly visible. To say you are afraid of being called a racist, but having that information out there it's not tracking here. But assuming you are asking in good conscience, I will bite. As a medical professional, you may or may not have heard of the term medical racism. When interacting with medical professionals, people of color are disproportionately on the end of negative health outcomes as a result of medical racism. There are so many disparities in the medical system that disproportionately and adversely affects people of color at a rate that is not seen in comparison to their white counterparts. I have never been a patient of yours, so I cannot speak for your patients. However, I imagine your patients of color, specifically your African American patients, are aware of the medical racism that exists within the medical field. And if they are in the ER alone, they are likely on the phone with someone they trust. It's probably a point of comfort for them to know that there is someone there on the other line in an uncertain environment that can advocate for them, maybe in a way that they cannot advocate for themselves, who will ask the questions that maybe they will not think to ask in that moment of distress. Again, I am not one of your patients, so I cannot speak to your patients who are doing this and engaging in this behavior. However, in the future, if you want to know the answer to a question, just go straight to the source and ask them. In the meantime, however, please take the opportunity to educate yourself on medical racism and how this impacts your patients of color, specifically your Black patients.
African American people are currently and have historically been mistreated and...
So go back first and watch his original comment, basically questioning why Black patients come in and have somebody on the phone when he, as a white male physician in the emergency room, comes and just speaks to them. Because the answer here is a question that did not need to be asked if he had thought about it for 2 seconds, because we all know it's a safety issue. We know that white physicians, like myself, put our Black patients at risk day to day. And the situation is multifactorial. So white doctors out there, like myself, you need to be part of the solution. We owe it to all patients to not put them at risk just because they present to us. But this can only happen if you can recognize the fact that you have an inherent bias, and that just is a statement of truth. You don't have to subscribe to anything. You don't have to be, quote, openly racist to have that. It is by virtue of the fact that you have not lived the Black experience that you put patients at risk. And we know that because the research is there to back it up. And all you can do is actively work to reduce that by investing time and energy into understanding the problem and how you can be part of the solution. For me, myself as a family doctor, this goes back to my medical school training and seeking out Black physicians who were willing to train me, and doing so in Black communities. And in doing that, understanding that that is a privilege, not a right, and being there to listen to the patients and their needs, not to tell them what their needs were and how to live their lives. I did this for months and months on end as a very happy fly on the wall and such an appreciative fly on the wall, because I knew I needed to learn skills and have an understanding of a population that was at high risk and that was different from myself. I also did months of training in Hispanic communities because there's a large Hispanic population where I live. And I went and I sought out physicians speaking in the native language to their patients to hone in my skills, and also, again, to be a fly on the wall that was happy and appreciative to be there to learn. And there are many other minority communities that I went and I sought out rotations in for those reasons. Because if as a white physician, you do not walk into a room with a black patient every single time, knowing that you put their lives at risk and have heightened alert to that fact, you are part of the problem and you are a reason why this problem propagates. So actually I've sat on this post for a few days because I wanted to make sure my message was very clear and that I respect Black creators who are talking about this space. And those are the people you need to be listening to about this subject. Big shout out to She's Having a Baby for helping me work through this. And she reminded me of a really important thing that I want to call out here very clearly. This is a call to action for physicians and healthcare providers to listen to your Black patients and their families about their needs. When they say something is wrong, believe them. We were trained to do for all of our patients, but somehow, in particular with our Black patients, we forget this. The burden falls on the physicians to fix the problem, not to ask Black patients to change their behavior. And it is not the responsibility of Black creators out there to teach us, but there are some who are doing a damn good job at doing it because they care so deeply for their community and the needs of them. So if you're not following people like She's Having a Baby or Dr. Callie, you're really missing the boat here. And if I am getting this wrong, please call me out. Please let me know, because I don't want to be furthering this problem. I would like to be part of the solution. So healthcare workers, we have a long way to go. And if you want to get on board and help with the solution, start doing the learning you need. I will keep doing the same. If you have other Black creators I should be following to learn more on this subject or any subject that you feel is important for that matter, drop me a comment and I will go follow them. And to the guy originally stitched, Dr. Callie took her time to try to help you learn where your blind spot was and how to rectify that problem. And instead, you doubled down with a not sorry post. Do better.
Answer, but I asked why.
This is my great aunt Lasagna Penny. She passed away on November 25th of 2020 from complications from her thyroid surgery. Yes, a simple thyroid surgery. She got the surgery done in a trusted hospital, the hospital that my mother used to work at as a phlebotomist. My mother was even the person who recommended my aunt go to this hospital because the mortality rate in that hospital was extremely low. Unfortunately, we didn't think that she will be another victim. Like I previously stated, it was a thyroid surgery, and when she woke up from the surgery, my mother noticed that she was wheezing a lot and had difficulty breathing. That's not a good sign given the fact that your thyroid is located right here. So that could mean one of two things. One, they didn't stitch her up properly, or two, he cut too deep. My mother literally had to beg the doctor to be like, hey, check on her, something's not right. And when they finally checked up on her, they noticed that she was going in and out of consciousness. Then she essentially fainted for the final time, and she hasn't woken up. She was in a vegetative state until her final days. And the sad part about it is, the doctor couldn't even say he was sorry for what happened. He just literally hacked my auntie up and took his ass home. Didn't have a fucking care in the world. So when you see your Black patients on the phone and or recording you, that's why. They don't trust you. They don't trust you at all. And I'll be damned if I see another story that happened to my aunt to another person. Because of your incompetence and your negligence, someone could die in your care. So please spare me this whack-ass apology. Because your way of thinking can get somebody hurt, or worse.
I have a question, but I'm afraid to ask it because I don't want to be labeled as a racist.
Well, I think you are, because you told on yourself when you said, I'm worried about being labeled one. Because if you genuinely cared, you wouldn't be posting this on social media. You'd be having conversations with your patients, with people. Maybe reading some books. Literally reading some books. Watching TikToks from creators that are not the same as you. Maybe, instead of posting on social media, so you can get... This seems like rage farming. Or else you're just really not that bright and then let anyone be a doctor. Because this is wild. You are wild. Do better, be better, or stop being a doctor. Because clearly your concern isn't really doing good for people. Unless they're...
Well, I wouldn't say that I am surprised that this doctor is getting backlash because of the video. Now, in that video, the moment he said, I don't want to be labeled racist, I knew it. I knew it. I knew his question was not genuine. I mean, you should have asked your Black patient this question, like directly. Ask them, why do you have somebody on the phone? Probably they would explain to you. But then, as a doctor, I expected you to know this. Black people are not, of course, historically, they are not being treated fairly in the hospital. We all know this. So coming on social media to ask this question, and these people are coming for you, doctor, you asked for it. Now, he deleted the video, obviously, because the heat was just too much for him. Now, I'm going to show you his apology video that a lot of people didn't accept. But yeah, I'm going to show you some random comments. Like I said, I took some screenshots of comments randomly so you guys can see what other people said about his video. Please stay with me, guys. I would love to know what you all think in the comment. Do you think the question he asked was a genuine question, or was he chasing clout?
American people are currently and have historically been mistreated and endangered by the American medical system. I posed a question to the internet yesterday about an observation that I had made as an emergency medicine doctor, that a disproportionate amount of my African American patients were on their cell phones during medical encounters. And I thought I knew the answer, but I asked why. And there were a lot of people that were upset that I would talk about this on social media, and they were upset that I wasn't talking directly to my patients about it to get the answer. And I 100% get that. I should absolutely be doing more in my personal practice, in my immediate environment, to help make the medical environment a safer place for Black people. It was my hope that by making this video, I could reach a lot more people than I can reach in person, and address the fact that there are a lot of people who think that it's rude to be on the phone during a medical encounter. But it was my suspicion that this was rooted in very justified mistrust and fear of the medical system. To everyone that I have triggered and offended, I apologize.
Now, beside me are some of these comments I randomly grabbed so you guys can see what other people said. Let me know what you all think in the comments. We should do better as human beings. We always talk about racism. As a doctor, you should have known. Pick up a book. They have recommended this book for you. Read it. Guys, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video, share, subscribe, and of course, come back for another video. I'm gonna see you all in my next one. Y'all take care and have a blessed day. Bye.